Hi everyone, this is Kristen with the Kennedy Room of Local History and Genealogy. It's a new year and we're bringing you a new episode of Genealogy on the Go, where we cover genealogy tips and tricks in 15 minutes or less. As genealogists, we are constantly being reminded that not every record is available online, and that's definitely true. There will be times when we will have to mail off for a record or visit an archive or a government office to access some collection. However, I think it's important to remember, especially right now when we can't travel as much, that there are so many records that are available online. You only have to know how to find them. In this episode of Genealogy on the Go, we are going to take a very quick look at FamilySearch.org and explore how to find some hidden records that you might not have known they had. FamilySearch.org is a website that is part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is a free website, but if you've never used it before, you will be asked to create a free account. This is really easy. You'll just click on the Create an Account button in the right-hand corner of the screen, and you'll enter some information, you'll create a username and password, and then you will be good to go. So I've had my account with FamilySearch for several years now, so if you'll give me just a second, I'll get signed in and then we'll get started. Once you've signed into FamilySearch, there are several ways that you can go about looking for records. If you look at this top tab and you click search and then you click records, this is going to bring up a very basic search page. It's very similar to Ancestry.com and many other genealogy databases that you might have already used. While we're here, let's just try a really quick search to see how it works. We do have a lot of fields that we can fill out, but keep in mind that sometimes less is more. Sometimes the more information you include in your search, it makes it very narrow and you're not able to find what you're looking for. So we'll search for Furman J. Millwood. He was born in 1901 and he died in 1956. He was a resident of Spartanburg County and he was the husband of Lydia Cash. So give me just a second to get this all typed in and then I'll click search. Okay, so as we can see, this has brought up several records. Right off, I see a find a grave entry. There is a death certificate. There is a census record for 1940, and he's even listed in the United States Social Security Death Index. So we can click on one of these. Let's try the 1940 census and see what it brings up. Here we have a transcription of the information that is on the record, and then if we click this little magnifying glass, we can see the actual document. And if we zoom in on this image, we can see that Furman and his family are listed at the top of the page. If we go back and we scroll down, we can see similar historical records. And this is basically things that FamilySearch has found that they think might be relative to our search. And so we have another census record. This one's from 1930. We have his death certificate again, and we also have some obituary information. So just doing this basic search can be pretty productive, but something to keep in mind is that this kind of search is just going to provide results from collections that have already been indexed or transcribed by FamilySearch. Transcribing and indexing, it's quite time consuming, it's very extensive, and so there's going to be abundance of collections that haven't been processed and haven't been transcribed and haven't been indexed. These collections contain a wealth of information, but you're going to have to remember to go looking for them. They're not going to show up in your basic searches. Here I am, I've gone back to the main page, and this time I want to show you how to find those records that I was just talking about, the ones that haven't been indexed or haven't been transcribed yet. So you'll go back to the top and hit search, and then you're going to hit catalog. And right off, you can see there are several ways you can search this catalog. You can search by surname, title, author, subjects, keywords, but the one that I'm most interested in is by place. So I'm going to go to the place tab and type in Spartanburg. This brings it right up. And before we hit search, we need to narrow down our availability. If I leave it on any, this can bring up things that are only available at a family history center, or maybe even only available in person in Salt Lake City. So for this search, we're going to narrow it down to online collections. So here we have a list of Spartanburg County records, most of which are probably not included in that general search we just did. We have a cemetery survey for Oakwood Cemetery in downtown Spartanburg. And if we click on this little camera icon, we can scroll through this book page by page. Let's go back and see what else we can find. It looks like we have some church histories and church records for several historic churches in Spartanburg County. We have some court records that you can look through. And it looks like we also have some land records and some probate records. And this is going to be things like wills and estate papers, guardian papers. The catch with these records is the fact that you have to manually look through them. You can't just type a name into the search bar and have it pop up. Luckily, many of them have indexes attached to them that can help you narrow down your search and make your life a little bit easier. While we're here, why don't we just take a look at one of these collections so you can get an idea of how they work and how you can explore them. Let's look at the conveyance books, which are in the land records. Now, conveyance books are basically deed records, and they show which people were buying and selling property in Spartanburg County. And by property, I mean land and or personal possessions. So it wasn't just them selling a plot of land or a farm or a house. It could have been anything. And as you can see, this collection is pretty big. It would be a hard job to sift through all of this without an index. But fortunately, they have one that we can use. So if you think your individual was selling property, you'd look in the grantor index. And if you think they were buying property, you would look in the grantee index. But honestly, I found that it's just a wise decision to look in both of these. So we're going to click on this direct index of grantors for surnames A through B. And what's going to come up first is a sub-index for surnames that start with A. And this is going to show you where this surname appears in the main index. So as we can see, Adair is going to be on page 3. So let's go to the main index and look for Adair. Okay, so here's where the main index starts. You can see there's a page number right here, page 1 in the top right-hand corner, and we're looking for page 3. Here we have page 2. Okay, now we're at page 3. And if you look down, you can see all of the listings for the surname Adair. Let's look at this first one for Isaac Adair, who is selling property. And we can see if we scroll through this chart that the deed record will be listed in Book W on page 254. So now that we have that information, we'll go back to the results. And we'll scroll past the index. And as you can see, each conveyance book has its own letters assigned to it. And we're looking for Book W. We'll click on that. And this brings us to Book W deed records. And if you click on the first page, there's likely going to be a handwritten index. You're welcome to look through it. It's a lot harder to read than what we were just looking at, but it's there if you need it. I'm going to scroll through until I get to this first main page. And if you see in the top hand corners, there's little page numbers written. We need to get to page 254. Right now we're on page 2 and 3, so we have a ways to go. I'm just going to type a number up in this box, and we'll see where it ends up. Okay, so here we are at page 258. We'll click back a few pages, and here's 254. And if we scroll down, we can see that here is a deed record for Isaac Adair and Murphy, who was selling property to Davis Newman in April of 1837. So yeah, it's not a quick search where your results pop right up, but overall it's relatively simple to use. One thing to keep in mind, sometimes these indexes go a bit further than the actual documents do. So for instance, these indexes go through 1919, but I believe you can only access deed books through, I think, 1911. So if you do get stuck and you have this entry you're looking for and you can't find it, there's a good chance it's just not included in the collection. Now I'm back at the main result page, just looking through and seeing what I can find. Like I told you before, some of these collections are going to have indexes, some of them aren't. The church minutes that you look at, many of these are not going to have indexes, and so you're going to have to browse through there and look at the dates and see if you can find what you're looking for. Fortunately, a lot of the probate records will have indexes. You can find these indexes if you scroll down to the bottom of the results page. There's a list for those. And then there's going to be some records that are like the deed book we just looked at. They may not have an individual index listed, but if you click on them, there may be that handwritten index. So don't write something off if you don't see an index right away. It's definitely worth looking into. And this kind of search, it can work for any county that you're looking for. We can go back up to this place tab and type in Jackson County, North Carolina. And actually I typed that wrong. I should have just typed in Jackson, North Carolina. But we'll click on that, we'll hit search, and we can see what they have for that area. All right, we have probate records like we have for Spartanburg County. There's guardianship records. We can go back to the place tab. We can type in Union, South Carolina and see what they have for Union County, South Carolina. Okay, here they have church records, tons of church records. These are really great if you know where your person was attending. You may be able to find some helpful records there if you'll scan through them. They've got land records like Spartanburg had. They even have taxation records you can look at. So it's a great tool, a great thing to keep in mind while you're searching on FamilySearch. That's all I have for you today on FamilySearch.org. We've only skimmed the surface of what's available here, so I would encourage you to get on the site and to explore it and see what you can find. And maybe at some point we'll be able to do a part 2 to this episode. As always, if you have any questions about this episode or genealogy or the Community Room collection, please feel free to visit our website or contact us. Until next time, take care and happy researching.